Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Metropolitan Republican Club's webinar series. My name is Krisha Lenzo, and on behalf of the Met Club Board, we're so happy that you're joining us tonight. As a reminder, we have a donation link in our live chat, and we hope you'll consider making a contribution to help support our club so we can bring you content and candidate spotlights such as this. So tonight, we are very excited to have Fernando Mateo join us. He just announced his historic run for New York City mayor. Fernando is a renowned entrepreneur, head spokesman for the Hispanics Across America, president for the New York State Federation of Taxi Drivers, and United Bodegas of America. Fernando has also unveiled his plan to bring new life into our city's family business districts while outlining new protections for small business and working class families as the city's first Hispanic immigrant candidate for mayor. Welcome, Fernando.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Hello, Republicans.
Hello, Republicans. Definitely. So I have to ask, where are you right now? Because it is a beautiful backdrop.
I'm in Zona de Cuba, the only restaurant on top of a federal building in the United States. It's the most amazing spot in all of New York. It's a well-kept secret. You land in the Bronx, you do you connect to our elevator and you get off in Cuba. And the food here, the ambiance, the views are amazing. This place is just phenomenal.
It looks it, and we definitely all need to check it out, especially since restaurants are beginning to reopen. But we'll get into that more, talking about business. But first, you have defined yourself as someone who is the quintessential urban Republican. So for us Republicans, can you tell us what that means?
Urban Republican means I grew up in the city projects. I basically did all my community work in big democratic communities, in communities that need the most help in New York City. I've been from Rikers Island, where I spent 3 years teaching, training, and finding employment for first-time nonviolent offenders. Not as an inmate, but as an instructor, okay? Then I did Toys for Guns in 1993 in the 34th precinct, and then we went to the most dangerous precincts around the city. And eventually it expanded to becoming a worldwide program. We got thousands and thousands of illegal guns off of the hands of the wrong people. In 1999, I formed the New York State Federation of Taxi Drivers, and we saved the lives of dozens and countless of cab drivers that were getting murdered every year. We instituted laws working with two great Republican politicians, elected officials, which was Giuliani and Pataki at the time. And we created an amazing industry protecting these vulnerable drivers. Then we went on and we formed the United Bodegas of America. And we basically transformed the bodega industry into being an industry that was more viable, easier to manage, safer until de Blasio came along. Now crime has climbed up again and it's a big mess. But before that, at 14 years old, I dropped out of school, and I have programs and I have ideas so that other kids at my age don't drop out of school. And at 17, I was married and I started my first business. I've never worked for anyone ever since. And I've been very successful. I started a small carpet store, and it became the largest floor covering company, minority-owned floor covering company in the United States. And then I went into different businesses. Today, I own a handful of businesses, and I do very well. I manage my businesses with great management, with great structure and great management. And I don't need to be there anymore. So I do what I want to do when I want to do it. And it's like they say, the happiest man in the world isn't the man that gets up early in the morning. It's the man that gets up happy. And I get up happy every morning. That's why I'm the wealthiest man in the world.
Well, that is for sure evident. And that's why we wanted you to learn a little bit more about your platform. And a lot of different people have written in some questions for you. So expounding on that, can you tell us some of the key issues that you're running on and what you plan to do when you're elected mayor?
First, I would address public safety, because no one wants to be in a city or anywhere that's not safe. Public safety to me is number one. I would have more police officers, thousands more police officers out on the streets, in the subways, in the buses, walking the beat, getting to know the people in their community, including every small business. I would make sure that we refund the police and allow them enough funds for them to be able to do their job properly. Of course, we would make sure that we implement a lot of different programs within the department where those funds can be lasered to make the city a better city. We want to make sure that social justice is part of our agenda. We want to make sure that the respect for our police officers come back. And once we get the crime situation under control, then we need to simultaneously or equally bring back our economy, because we can't pay our cops and we can't pay our civil servants if we don't have a strong economy. Remember, we are New York City. We could never forget that. We are the capital of the world. We have taken blows and hits the last 7 years. We've been knocked down, but we were not knocked out. I know how to bring small businesses back to New York. I know how to bring back our economy by creating incentives for small businesses to want to be in New York. Rather than giving billions of tax dollars to large corporations like Amazon or Google or Facebook who really don't need it, I would take that money and ask those 80,000 businesses that have closed to reopen. And I would try to bring back tens of thousands more jobs by allowing them tax incentives that they could use in order to bring back their businesses and bring back jobs. I would make sure that these businesses at the same time have enough incentives to give kids 14 through 18 an opportunity to work, learn a skill, an opportunity to become part of the fabric of New York City. Because when kids have nothing to do after school, they commit mistakes because they're kids. They do things that they shouldn't do and they wind up in trouble and ultimately wind up in jail. So I want to make sure, like myself, at 14, I was adopted by a small business owned by a Jewish family who taught me the values of working, of earning your dollar. And keeping a few dollars in your pocket meant a lot, because I didn't have to ask my father for $5 or $10. I earned it. I had it. It gave me self-esteem. So I want to focus on our youth, on our small businesses, on business development, on bringing our economy back, on making sure that if you open a small business in New York City, you know that the mayor of New York and the city of New York is your guarantee. We are your insurance company. Right now, it's very difficult. These businesses didn't go out of business because of the pandemic. A lot of them have gone out of business because of the way the city agencies treat you. The abuse of power by city agencies, by the government, against these small businesses that are, first of all, they borrowed money or they've spent their life savings building their business, and then a city agency comes along and decides they want to shut you down. That will end with Mayor Mateo. That will not happen in the city of New York. I will make sure that we give you every opportunity to succeed, not take away the opportunities that you can earn, that you can make in New York City.
Well, that, encapsulated a lot of the questions that kept coming in, because as native New Yorkers, we're all concerned for our city. We see what's happening on the streets. I mean, restaurants are closed, shops are closed, people are fleeing New York. And it's really, really sad. And we all feel that. And that's why it's so important to hear, your plan and those who are running, what they can do for the city. You mentioned it briefly, some of the incentives, but can you all expound upon ways to bring New Yorkers back?
Ways to bring New Yorkers back is by having a safe city, having thriving businesses, making sure that they can get to and from work without getting hurt, and at the same time, opening up our city, getting your restaurants, your bars, your clubs, your nightlife going, turning on the switch. New York is known to be the city that never sleeps. Well, we've been sleeping for 7 years, and we need to wake up. We need to make sure that our city starts thriving. We need to protect the vulnerable, the elderly, the ones that have medical conditions. Those are the people that need to be taken care of, and make sure that they wear masks and they do everything they have to do so that they don't get sick and in some cases die. It's not healthy people. It's not the young people that can go out and they can go to a restaurant and they can go to a bar and they can continue living their lives. By the time I'm mayor, I'm hoping that COVID is behind us and that our city's ready to go, because I am ready to go with the city wherever we need to go. I will be a mayor that will be hands-on and that will make sure that we invite the rich, get the rich together with the poor. You know, rich people are the people that go to the theaters. They're the ones that go to the restaurants. They're the ones that lend money and borrow money. Lend money and help the poor create opportunities. So I would engage the foundations, the philanthropists, the billionaires. And I would say, listen, rather than you giving another $100 million to Columbia University or Columbia Presbyterian Hospital or NYU Hospital, they don't need it. They have billions. Why don't you adopt a city housing development where the sinks are falling off the walls, where there's lead in every apartment and kids are, getting sick because of lead poisoning? Why don't we put your family name in this development and you can adopt it and do something really good for people that really need it? That's what this city needs. They need a mayor that's humble, a mayor that knows how to negotiate, a mayor that can speak to the rich, deal with the poor, bring them together, and make our city a much better city to live in. That's what I know how to do, because that's where I come from.
Well, you have already accomplished so much. Even before running for mayor, you founded Toys for Guns, and I've heard about this program for years, even before what's been happening with the campaign. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that program and how it really took off and is one of the biggest in the world?
Initially, it was a joke. I went to sleep on December 19th, 1993. 2 kids had committed suicide. They had shot themselves playing Russian roulette with their parents' guns while playing hooky from school. Had nothing to do, but they invited their friends to their house. One kid took a gun, shot himself. His girlfriend was so depressed and went crazy. She got her father's gun and killed herself. And that night I went to sleep and I said to my 14-year-old son, what can I do to get illegal guns off the street? He says, Dad, you know what? Don't buy me any toys for Christmas. Whatever you can do, try to see if you can get an illegal gun off the street. And I went to sleep thinking about that. Got up at like 3 a.m, said to my wife, tomorrow morning I'm going to go to Toys R Us, give me a check for $10,000. I'm going to buy gift certificates and I'm going to offer them for guns. I called Mayor Dinkins. He got Commissioner Ray Kelly on the phone. We agreed to do it. They thought it was a crazy idea. They said, this guy's crazy, but it's his money. So whatever he wants to do, let him do it. So they stood with me when I announced it. And, I felt really bad. And when I got home, my daughters were crying. Dad, people were laughing at you. They were saying that you're crazy. And because, the media went out and started interviewing people in the streets and saying, would you turn your gun in for a toy? And people say, that guy's, he's crazy. Nobody's going to do that. Well, you know what? It became a joke that became serious. And by midnight that day, we had gotten 11 guns, automatics off the streets. Now, the next morning by 8 a.m., by the time I returned, the lines were starting to form. Now it wasn't a joke anymore. Now helicopters were flying. The media had covered 3 city blocks waiting to see what was going to happen. And the guns started coming in, and it was nonstop. It was like unbelievable. It was like the city was thirsty for someone to do something to get rid of the violence. Right. And it seemed like if we had the solution. So we did it for 4 weeks. We got thousands of guns off the city streets. It was amazing, the results. And that's the story about Toys for Guns. The Wall Street Journal, I remember, wrote an article on their front page that said, a $10,000 idea got this man $500 million worth of $100 million worth of exposure. That was brilliant. You know what? I didn't do it for the brilliance. I did it because 2 kids had killed themselves. And that's what got me a lot of power, a lot of attention. It got me a lot of access. So the president of the United States called me. The New York Times said I was one of the most influential in the country, along with President Clinton, Madonna, who had just won all the Grammys, and Jimmy Johnson, who won the Super Bowl, and Pat Riley, who won the NBA championship with the Lakers. So I was amongst these, it was 4 people, and then there was me. And I said, oh my God, this is crazy. But needless to say, I used that access to help my community, to help the places that I came from, to create change and to create awareness. And it was good. It was a great experience. I was very proud of it. I still am very proud of it.
It's definitely something to be proud of. And another way you've connected with the community in New York is obviously being the president of the New York State Federation of Taxi Drivers. Can you explain more about your role there and how you've really taken the lead representing taxi drivers at this time?
Once again, the fact that they knew that I had access to the mayor and I had access to the governor. They came to me, like 50 drivers walked into my office unannounced, unexpected, on 40th Street, I remember, between Madison and 5th, and they said, Fernando, you can be our savior. I said, what's going on? They're killing 80 of us every year. In fact, we don't know what else to do. It's out of control. So I said, listen, I don't know much about the taxi industry. Let me do a little research and I'll get back to you. Sure enough, they were right. It was true. There was a problem. And I addressed it by calling out the governor, calling out the mayor, and asking them if they had attended a funeral, one funeral, where kids were being left without their parents, and they hadn't. So we started working on organizing, and we organized and we started to protest. We started to bring the issue to the table, to the media. And they grabbed it and they didn't let it go until the governor did something about it, until Mayor Giuliani decided to give us $5 million to install cameras and partitions in every taxi in New York City. I said to the mayor, you know what, they paid with their lives, now you pay with money, and let's keep the industry safe. So we made things happen. I worked very hard, day and night. I remember there were 3 weeks that they killed 12 drivers. In 3 weeks, 12 drivers. So I said to the mayor, I said, if you don't do anything, and if you don't attend these funerals, I will deliver 12 caskets to the steps of City Hall. I will bring 12 hearses with the wives and the children, and we will drop them at your doorstep. So you tell me what you want to do. And I will shut the city down because we will come in from every bridge and every tunnel. There'll be 10 or 20,000 of us making sure that the city realizes that there's an epidemic of uncertainty within the taxi industry. So they agreed to fix it. We didn't have to do all of that. And we fixed it. Today, if they kill one driver every 3 or 4 years, it's a lot. But during the de Blasio era, crime has steadily climbed up. And the assaults and the robberies and the stabbings and the shootings have gone up substantially. So we need to take our city back. And for that reason, I am running for mayor.
And another industry that has been affected by a lot of the crime too is, the United Bodegas of America, the bodegas in the city, specifically during some of the riots that occurred over the summer. Many people were attacked, and you have come out and spoken and really supported this community. Can you explain more about your role with them?
Bodega owners are like sitting ducks. They are behind the counter. They are in the poorest communities and the most unsafe communities of New York. That's their client base. So people walk in there, they take whatever they want, and they walk out. If the bodega owner chases them down, gets into an altercation, the bodega owner goes to jail. not the person who looted their store. So they pay for public safety. We all pay for public safety. We're not getting it. Bail reform has really damaged our criminal justice system. There are many people that deserve bail reform, and there are many that don't. Judges need to use discretion. We need to use common sense. What was the crime? How much damage was committed? Was anyone hurt? And if none of that happened, then you should get bail reform. But you can't take a serial thief and continue to let him go. You can't take a serial shooter and let him out in the streets. You can't take a serial assaulter and let him out in the streets. There's certain crimes that deserve punishment. So our city doesn't seem to have enough common sense. And the elected officials in our city, the ones that are running for mayor, have been in politics 15, 20, 30, 40 years. And they have seen all of these things happening. And they've said nothing about it. And if they've said something, it's only from the mouth out. They haven't done anything. I believe that this pandemic has caused a lot of hardship. It's caused 80,000 small businesses to go out of business and probably never come back. It has cost people their life savings. While they're out of business and their employees are unemployed, elected officials are still collecting a paycheck for themselves and for their staff. If they suffered the same consequences that we suffer as small businesses, I don't think that the city would have been shut down as long as it's been shut down.
Right.
So, you know what? If I were mayor of this city, I would have asked every council member, I would have asked every elected official, let's not get a check until everyone in New York City is back to work and our businesses are open. And you would have seen how quickly our economy would have gotten back in business.
And it's not just the people who are currently in power, the leaders in New York, it's also those who are running. Many say that on the Democrat ticket, it's Andrew Yang is the front runner. So can you just tell us some of the differences and how he compares to you right now as a candidate?
Well, there's no real comparison. Andrew Yang, I don't see him as a New Yorker. I'm sorry. I don't see him as feeling the pain and the suffering that we all felt or that we have been feeling for years. I don't see it. He's got name recognition. It's like Hillary Clinton. She's from Arkansas. She was the first lady. She came to New York with name recognition and became New York senator. Did she deserve to be New York senator? She never lived here.
Right.
It's like we allow for people to impress us. We love the stardom. We are starstruck. We're a city that is easily starstruck. And that is not the way it should be. It should be, you should earn the right to hold public office in New York. You should earn it the way I've earned it for 30 years. I never thought that I'd be running for mayor. I don't like politics. And I'm not a politician. But you know what? It hurts to see the city that I love going in the direction that it's going, and knowing that every candidate that's running for mayor will be a continuation of Bill de Blasio. You need to be hungry. You need to be humble. You need to know how to make money. These people don't know how to make money. I know how to make money. These people don't know how to make money because they've never really had a private sector job. Maybe Andrew Yang has. These people have never owned a business. Maybe Andrew Yang has. But not the type of business that every small business in New York runs. Not everyone is in the tech business in Silicon Valley. No, we're on Broadway, we're on Flatbush, we're on the Grand Concourse. We're on the streets hustling, dealing with New Yorkers every single day. I know this. I can solve it. I know the pain. I know the suffering. No other candidate has what I have in terms of experience and solving the problems that this city has.
Fernando, it's been so great getting to know you and hearing all about your history and your platform and where you intend to go for your race. There are a lot of Republicans on here who want to know, how can they support you? What can they do to get involved in your campaign? And what's the best way to beat some of these policies that you mentioned are just going wrong for our city?
You know what? City agencies are one of the biggest problems the city has. It's the leadership in the city agencies. You've got to bring people that are young, smart, hungry, aggressive, humble, and understanding of what New York City is about. You need to know that when someone borrows $1 million to start a small business, they don't want to lose their business, because if they lose their business, they've lost it all. To some people, it's not even worth living anymore. You can take someone's life away with the snap of a finger, with the power that you have at a city agency. I want people that want to help others, that want to see you succeed, that want to see you expand and create jobs. So I would make sure that every city agency head that I have, every deputy mayor that I hire, everyone that works for my administration understands where I'm coming from. And when they understand where I'm coming from, it's going to be energy coming out of me and into them. And they will know what they have to do in order to make the city a better city. If one business is shut down in New York, I want to know about it. I want to know why. I don't believe in 3 strikes and you're out. I believe in creating industries. I will create more jobs in this city. I'll create jobs just by creating areas in New York where you fix potholes. So we'll create 5,000 jobs fixing New York City's potholes. And I will allow people to start small businesses and handling 4 square miles of New York City roads to make sure that our roads are always good. I will make sure that our streets are clean. I will make sure that there's no graffiti out there. I will make sure that there's no panhandlers. I will make sure that there's no homeless people sleeping in the street when it's freezing outside. We spend so much money on the homeless. If you took that money and you built villages for them until they're able to transition out and into the mainstream, you would save billions, not spend billions a year, right? There are areas, industrial parks, where you can build these communities where they're not in anyone's backyard, because let's face it, no one wants a hotel full of homeless people next to their house or next to their building. The homeless don't feel good, and the people in the communities don't feel good. So you create it where they're not bothering anyone. There are solutions that are easy, that you can do without having to hurt anybody. I would do that. I will make sure that we get it right. I will make sure that our city functions practically, okay? This will become a blue-collar city, and everyone will live happily ever after. But first, you've got to go to MateoTheMayor.com, make a contribution, because we need money. I can't win with I have a new car. Car is me, but I need gas, and you're the gas. So if you would all be kind enough to go to MateoTheMayor.com and make a contribution, I would greatly appreciate that. And you will not regret it, because I will not let you down. Republicans don't let you down.
Well, Mateo, thank you so much. Fernando Mateo, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And again, we're so happy to learn all about your platform, and we'll post all the links and social handles so people can reach out to you to learn about your campaign. But wanted to say stay well, stay safe, and everyone have a great night, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And please remember, you could also volunteer. I need bright, smart minds. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Take care, everyone. Have a great night.